Hello, everyone. We're here at the Blue Ridge Pregnancy Center today, and we thought it would be great to do a little follow-up Q&A with some really special people that I'd like to introduce. And to my right is Miss Laurie Rowe, who is part of the Unplanned marketing and sales team and lives in Forest, Virginia. And to her right is supporting actress Stacey Bradshaw, who, if you came out to the Unplanned movie night, you got to hear a little testimony of Stacey's life, but she was the supporting actress in the film who played the role of Karen and was one of the 40 Days for Life employees. So we are super glad to have you guys with us today. Thank you for coming to the Blue Ridge Pregnancy Center. And Laurie, just tell us a little bit about, now that the movie has hit major motion picture and has come in the communities, what's happening after and as a result of Unplanned in the nation?
Well, it's super exciting because the opening weekend blew everybody away with what our sales were. Going into that first weekend, of course, this was a $6 million film budget, so it's very much a small budget. And Dumbo, everybody knows, opened that same weekend. And the first weekend that the film was out, everybody was expecting around 3.1 million in sales. And we ended up doing about 6.4 million, which is, more than double. So it was a huge win. Dumbo, it turns out not everybody's excited about seeing the flying elephant anymore. So that was actually, in the media following that first weekend, that was the contrast, was Disney thought that they had it all figured out, and these, pro-lifers didn't. And the film critics predicted that this little sleeper film would be a sleeper. And on the contrary, it wasn't. And so now we're through our second weekend. We've hit over 12 million in the second weekend.
Praise the Lord.
So it's still going strong. And for those that might be wondering, like, is it in my local theater? Yes, and we continue to expand every weekend. But I will say that it will probably be about a 4-week run. And then what happens is, even right now, it's beginning to expand internationally. And the buzz internationally, even before the movie came out in America, the buzz internationally was massive. Because when you think about what's happened in Europe, what's happened in China, what happens all over the world, America is not the only place fighting abortion.
Right.
And so the market internationally is huge. And then after the international distribution takes place, and that's a lot of negotiating, a lot of rights, then we'll start working through the DVD release. And that's another phase. But so some really fun things, though. Fun, it may be not the right word, but some really great things that have happened. And I'm sure, Stacey, that you're hearing some of this too, and maybe you all even are here. A number of pro-choice people have seen the movie and are leaving, asking questions and wrestling with what they have either been taught or what they have chosen to believe. And some of them are even now coming out publicly. And when I say publicly, I mean like journalists that are saying, I went to see it as part of my job. I left and I'll never be the same. And I'm no longer pro-choice. So we're seeing that shift really begin to happen. And that's significant.
Yeah, that's amazing. I've read some of those articles, and many of my friends and supporters of the Blue Ridge Pregnancy Center shared those with me on Facebook. And I'm astounded at the person who is now being redeemed, converted, and changed as a result of this film.
Yes.
Very impactful.
Absolutely.
One of the most life-changing movies I've ever seen.
Yes.
And I don't know how you could not go see it and your heart and your thought process not be challenged.
Right.
Just a very well done movie.
Yes, I agree.
Great. So in the movie, we saw a lot about the organization 40 Days for Life.
Right.
And I know about 40 Days for Life. What could you tell the audience about 40 Days for Life?
Well, I did not know about 40 Days for Life until I started working on this project. And I don't know about you, but
I didn't either.
So I am just in love with 40 Days for Life. And I had the honor of working closely with them, not portrayed in the movie, but with the real life 40 Days for Life people. And they are absolutely, what you see is what you get. They are the real deal. So 40 Days for Life, Sean Carney and his wife, Mary Lisa Carney, they are the founders of 40 Days for Life. It is basically 40 days, 40-day vigils across the world. So not just the country, but the world. They are so internationally connected now. And for 40 days, a prayer vigil will take place outside of a Planned Parenthood. And, 40 days is very significant in Scripture, and so that is really the model that they took. And we hear a little bit of a hint of it in the movie. You know, in fact, the Planned Parenthood employees are making fun of Sean Carney for going door to door knocking and saying he's going to get a 40-day prayer vigil. Well, guess what? He did.
Yes.
And so now, across the world, currently, there are 40-day prayer vigils going on throughout the Lent season. And so a couple of ways that people can get involved with 40 Days for Life, because they are global. So wherever you live, even if you live in Lynchburg, but you know somebody in a larger city, especially where there is a Planned Parenthood, you can ask them or encourage them to go check out the 40 Days for Life website. So you can go check out 40daysforlife.com. I would encourage everybody to sign up to get their email. That is something that I do, and I get their email now every morning. I literally go to my phone every morning to read a 40 Days for Life update from Sean Carney, because they share on day 36 of the prayer vigil stories. I happen to be a twin mom, and last week there was the email that came out was about multiple sets of twins that had been saved from abortion.
Wow.
And so they share stories about in babies that have been saved because of the power of prayer. And in the movie we learn that there is as much as 75% reduction in shows at abortion clinics when there are people praying on the other side of the fence. And so 40 Days for Life goes in and they very peacefully pray outside of Planned Parenthoods.
Yes.
They're there from 8 a.m. until 6 p.m. So it's not necessarily a 24-hour vigil. It's very doable for people.
I loved in the movie when they shared that the days that the 40 Day for Life crew were out praying in front of the Planned Parenthood, that the no-show rate skyrocketed.
That's exactly right.
And the amount of customers that Planned Parenthood actually successfully terminated babies went way down.
That's right.
That is the power of prayer.
It is.
We use the 40 Days for Life prayer devotional here at the center. And when we do 40, we start right back over with day 1. And very, very powerful and shows you the power of prayer.
I'd love to share one story about a woman named Sue, who is now the director of outreach for 40 Days for Life. And for 18 years, she worked at the Planned Parenthood in Storm Lake, Iowa. Population, 10,000 people. And she had just signed a 15-year lease for Planned Parenthood when 40 Days for Life came in.
Interesting.
And before the 40 days were even over, the clinic had shut down.
Praise the Lord. That's
now,
wonderful.
that is the power of prayer.
Yeah.
And Sue, to hear her talk, she knew, early on, something's not right here.
Yeah.
She started in 1991. You can read about her online, and she knew something wasn't right about what she was doing, but she felt trapped. She was a mom. She had kids to feed, etc. And now she is able to take that experience, and she is a believer, and she's able to share that story really on a national platform because she travels now for 40 Days for Life. And one of my favorite stories during the Unplanned campaign, she was also in they were in the 40 Days campaign. And so she was in Jefferson City, Missouri, which is the capital of Missouri. She was talking to high school students about abortion. And there was a girl in the audience that was somewhat hostile about abortion and really challenged Sue. And Sue was able to have an offline conversation with her and really share personal information. And by the end of the time, the girl had become gentle and friendly, and Sue felt like maybe even a change of heart.
Yeah.
And so it's amazing what God does, and it is the power of prayer.
Yeah. Similar to Abby in the movie.
Yes, exactly.
Where Mary Lisa approaches her and asks her name.
Yes.
Shows her the love of Christ through authentic compassion, love, and hope.
Right.
And that's who we are here at the Blue Ridge Pregnancy
Yes.
Center. So that is just a great example to follow. They have a great Facebook page as well.
Yes,
so
follow the Facebook
them.
page.
Yes.
Get their emails, and there isn't really a 40 Days for Life campaign in Lynchburg, but there are in surrounding areas. And just because we don't have a Planned Parenthood here, doesn't mean that there aren't abortions going on here. It doesn't mean that we couldn't form a 40 Days here.
That's exactly right.
And pray abortion out of Lynchburg.
That's right.
Maybe we need to.
That's wonderful.
Yeah, I love getting those emails too, and seeing their Facebook updates. And
yes.
Not even the campaign isn't even over, and hundreds of babies have already been saved.
Right.
And how the parents and grandparents will drive back by and tell them thank you for being here.
Yeah.
You know, my grandbaby was just born, and it's because
Yes.
that you were here,
Yes.
and my daughter didn't come in.
Yes.
There's so many stories like that. So
Yeah.
encouraging.
Mhm.
I love those stories. So what is Abby Johnson up to now, the main character of
Yeah.
Unplanned, the story of her life?
Right. Well, I think that everybody saw, if you stayed through the credits, that
Yeah.
you saw that she also has a nonprofit organization, like 40 Days for Life is nonprofit. And her organization is committed to helping people come out of Planned Parenthood.
Mm-hmm.
And to
500,
date, so they've
right?
saved
500?
they have helped over 500 people
Right.
come out of Planned Parenthood. And it's really important to recognize that when somebody has Planned Parenthood on their resume,
Mm-hmm.
nobody really wants to hire them.
Mhm.
And so it is really hard to get a job. And that is a big challenge. And I say nobody wants to hire them. Like maybe if they were in a metropolitan area and they wanted to go pursue that same agenda,
Sure.
then they could. But it is easy to assume that when somebody leaves Planned Parenthood, they're leaving that mission. And so therefore it's the people that they would want to go work with that don't want to hire them. So Abby's very capable and strategic in helping them
Mhm.
through just the therapy of what they've done,
Mm-hmm.
but then also helping them with job placement. But I mean, honestly, right now, Abby, well, first of all, she's expecting any day her 8th child. And she is
I love that.
the face for pro-life. I mean,
Yes.
she is an activist. And
She is.
another great Facebook page to follow is Abby Johnson.
Mm-hmm.
I think it's Abby Johnson : pro-life, pro-baby, pro-woman, or some sort of order, pro-baby, pro-woman, pro-life. And you can see on there a recent video from Abby being a witness in a Kentucky courtroom.
Mm-hmm. I just saw that.
And that is so powerful.
Yes.
The testimony that she gave about what happens
Mm-hmm.
inside of an abortion clinic. And
She contradicted the
oh
other
my goodness,
side.
amazing,
and Just
amazing.
with truth.
Yes,
She just combated it all with truth.
with
And
truth.
many people want her in their ring.
Yeah, that's right.
She's amazing.
Yeah,
She travels
is.
and speaks
Yeah.
a lot, and people don't want to come on and debate her
No,
on the shows because
yes, that's right.
they know they don't stand a chance.
that's right.
That's right.
Oh, that's wonderful. Well, Laurie, thank you so much for sharing your perspective
What an
from the Unplanned side of
Mhm.
things. The
Mhm.
movie was just a huge milestone in the Lynchburg community. We had 2 sold-out theaters that
That's
night, and many people asking more questions. How can I get involved? How
Mhm.
can I put action
Yes.
behind what I already feel God calling me to do? And we've been inundated with speaking requests and tours at the center. And so for that alone, we are so grateful.
That's great.
I'd like to turn the attention now over to Stacey Bradshaw, who was played the role of Karen, as I said earlier. She has some great stories to share about really just a move of God on the set and how the Lord himself orchestrated so many wonderful, praiseworthy stories to share. And if you take a minute to do that, we'd love to hear.
Yeah, it's really phenomenal. And so first, I will say that I actually played the role of Karen and Heather combined.
Okay.
I want to give Heather some credit because she's just a phenomenal woman. But they took the 2 of them. They were both 40 Day for Life volunteers and
Great.
put them into one role. But I got to meet them in person for the first time at the premiere. And it was so wonderful. They're my heroes. I just love them so much. So it was an honor to portray them on the screen and to be part of the 40 Days for Life crew on the set. And so there's so many stories. It's just, I mean, just from the very beginning, like they wanted to make this movie 5 years ago,
Mm-hmm.
and God told them, no, I want you to wait.
Mm-hmm.
And that's hard to hear, when you're on fire and you have this great story and the world needs to hear it, like you're just ready to go, right? But Chuck and Carrie are just such men of God, and they were willing to listen to the Lord's leading and obey him, and they waited for 5 years, and God finally said, okay, now's the time. And look at when the film is coming out, and there's so many stories there even of just what is happening and just how the timing is so perfect, and we could talk all day about all these things. It's just incredible. But a few other stories really quick though that I wanted to touch on. A lot of people are hearing this through the news, but I always think it's worth repeating how Ashley Bradshaw herself, who plays the role of Abby Johnson in the film, she didn't find out until she was 4 days into filming on the movie that her mother was so close to aborting her. She was on the abortion table, and I think a pregnant nurse came in to check on her, and in that moment, Ashley's mother was like, I can't go through with this, and she walked out, and now Ashley is playing the iconic role of Abby Johnson, and herself, becoming such an outspoken advocate for life on a national platform. And so that just gives me chills. I think, I've done about 35 Christian films now, but I've never felt the Spirit of God so present on any film set as I did on this one. And God just had his hand over this film the entire way. And I think one thing that made a huge difference is that we had a dedicated prayer and ministry team on set every day to just pray protection and blessing over all of us and over the film. And it it's
Makes
just
a difference.
Prayer works.
It really
changes
Prayer
things.
works.
Prayer changes things.
It does, and it's just so incredible. And I think for those who have seen the film, one of the most powerful behind-the-scenes images that I've seen come out of this was there's this photo. So during the scene where Abby is undergoing her chemical abortion, and I wasn't on set at that time, but it was extremely hard for Ashley to put herself through that as an actress, and it was making her physically ill. She was throwing up between takes from what I heard. And and when you're filming, the scene might take a few minutes, but it takes hours to get that footage, from all the different angles. So we have to do that over and over. But there's this photo that was taken because that set was built in a studio, and so as Ashley is in the bathroom filming this scene, on the other side of that wall, there was crew members that weren't working. There was the prayer ministry team. There was, other people that were there just with their hands on the wall, just holding up that wall and just praying the whole time that was happening. I get emotional every time I see that photo and think of that story. For me personally, now my family's been involved with our pregnancy center most of my life. And so it's always been a very important cause to me, something that I've really cared about. But I think it was on this set that it really became so personal to me and became so real in just a very different way. It was the scene with the blue barrels.
Yeah.
And I know that scene has affected a lot of people. Like, aside from the abortion scenes, I think that was like the most effective of really just reaching people and reaching their hearts. And for me, that was my last day of filming. I didn't even know what we were shooting that day. I just showed up on set. I didn't have any lines, so they just added me into the scene. And I was like, okay, so I just showed up and I'll just see what we're doing. I'll respond appropriately to whatever's happening today. So I get on set and we're standing there outside the fence, outside the abortion clinic. And we start rehearsing the scene, and this truck driver brings out this huge blue barrel. And I just look at it and I think about what's inside. And I just, in that moment, God just broke my heart in a way, in pain that I had never felt before. And I just started to weep and weep. And we finished rehearsing the scene, and I just had to walk away, and I just stood there and sobbed, and I could not pull myself together. Finally, I did, and the makeup ladies, bless them, came and put me all back together again so we could actually start filming. And so every time, when we filmed that scene for hours, and every time I just stood there and I wept, and I feel like God just gave me a fraction of his pain, and it was unbearable. But personally, I needed to experience that. But I think also for the film, I think that was really important, because we were truly mourning during that scene. We weren't actors just faking it. And I think that that's going to connect with the audience as well, to see it's real for us too. We care about this, and we're not just, but I think it's just so easy to distance ourselves or become, apathetic, or just not really connect with the reality of what's happening when it doesn't affect us personally. And so that's one thing that I think is so wonderful about the film, and my prayer has been that people would see it and would walk away and have been so deeply affected by it that I can't just do nothing. And I have heard from so many people that were already pro-life that they're getting more involved with their pregnancy center, and they're out there getting involved with the 40 Days for Life. I mean, the 40 Days for Life has just exploded since the movie came out. People are getting more involved, and I think that's just so wonderful, because we do need to see the shocking reality. And the R rating was so controversial, but it was rated for disturbing and bloody images. But how appropriate the MPAA is saying essentially that abortion is disturbing and violent, because it is. And it's given us that platform as well to say, to make a point that an underage girl in many states can get an abortion without parental consent, but she can't go see a movie that shows the reality of it without her parents there, and how backwards that is. And so I think the rating actually has helped us a lot, given us that platform to speak on that issue, but also it's given us more, it's just brought the film more to the forefront of the news and everything, but it's appropriate. And I think that the scenes are exactly what they needed to be. It is so hard to watch, but we need to see the reality of what's happening.
Right.
And so, and the abortion doctor in that scene, he was a real abortion doctor. And so you can know that this is completely accurate. Like, they're not hyping this up or anything. This is exactly what happens. And people can know that it's the truth. And I think that that's so important and it's so effective. And so just to hear the overwhelming testimonies that's coming out of this, the pro-choicers becoming pro-life, the pro-lifers becoming more involved and more dedicated, and then people who have been affected by abortion becoming finding forgiveness and healing through the message of the film. Because, and one of the reviews that I just love the most about the film, I don't remember the exact words, but the lady went into it and said, I was expecting a film that's, just so like, here's what abortion is and here's how wrong it is. She's like, but it was such a message of love and forgiveness and redemption. And I think that's so beautiful. And that's who Abby is. She's just the love that she shows to people to show them the truth and everything. And it's just so wonderful. But just all the testimonies coming out of it. And I was shared a video by this lady named Grace who had an abortion many years ago, and she wanted to go see the film, and she reached out to me afterwards. And she recently had her testimony videotaped, and so she shared that with me, and I was able to share it on my public acting page on Facebook. But one of the words that she said that haunted me the most, because she was in high school, and this happened with one of her teachers, and he was pressuring her to have an abortion. She really felt like she didn't have a choice. And she said, I remember praying that there would be pro-life people outside the abortion, praying and standing in my way. And there was no one. And there was no one. And she was praying that they would be there, and there was no one there. And so that haunts me, and so I'm so grateful for 40 Days for Life and everybody else that just goes and prays and is part of making a difference, because it really does make such a huge difference. So,
well, as I listened to you speak, one of the things that I got from the whole movie was the rating did not deter any of our guests. I'd say the majority of our guests were not fazed at all by the fact of the R rating. And we disclosed the fact that the first 20 minutes was going to be a little tough, but the entire issue of abortion is tough. And what the movie did so well was unpacking the details. Like you said, the pro-lifers became more pro-life because of the understanding now of all the facets of this industry and what happens in the issue of abortion. The whole picture was revealed from the emotional, the physical, and the spiritual side. And for us as a pregnancy center, that is our goal and mission, is to help treat all three of those areas for the client that's in need and in crisis. And I just loved the whole storyline. I thought that it just raised awareness, and that people that didn't know, people that thought they knew, and people that needed to know got the whole picture. And they got truth. They got the reality of this industry, and this industry is R-rated. And so I appreciated the transparency there. It was excellent, and it was very authentic. But I do want to expound quickly before we have to end. The Blue Ridge Pregnancy Center exists to help save lives and comfort those involved in unplanned pregnancies while furthering the gospel of Jesus Christ. However, we are there for the client that's in crisis, but we're also here for the client who maybe has made that decision in the past and has regrets, or possibly has become saved through salvation, but has never fully forgiven themselves. And we here at the Pregnancy Center offer a Bible study called Forgiven and Set Free, and a retreat referral to Deeper Still in Knoxville, Tennessee, which is a post-abortive weekend ministry where you can go for true healing and forgiveness. And we know that Christ comes to forgive us fully when we repent and ask him to, which is the secret, and that is the beauty of the gospel. And so I think the movie Unplanned, in many ways, the Lord's going to use on all kinds of levels to reach the heart of the people that think they're just fine, and then the people that still long and need to know him. And so I thank you, ladies, so much for being here. Your passion and desire to do kingdom work here in the community of Lynchburg, and for your support of the movie and just being involved in it in so many different ways. Thought it would be great to share with our guests and our viewers in the Lynchburg area, and we just can't thank you guys enough.
Thank you so much for having us.
You're welcome.
Yes.